This is the third in the series of videos about the tsunami in the Indian Ocean 20 years ago, and this is about volunteering and you, why and how. It's all about how we respond when we watch disasters unfold in the evening news, as we sit on our sofas and we glimpse the suffering that people undergo, and we just wish we could do something but usually feel helpless to act. Let's first discuss why it's a good idea to get up off the sofa and volunteer. There are four big reasons. Firstly, obviously to make a difference. And if you watch the second video in the series about the medical work we did in Aceh, you'll see the point immediately, straight away. The second reason is to turn your compassion for those who are suffering into action, to feel that personal satisfaction that you're doing something. Well, I'm a task-oriented person. I want to fix things. As a doctor, I want to fix things. And I try to. But I've also learnt that even if you can't actually fix the problem, your compassion really helps people. I see this every day in my life as a doctor. It's become part of my medical practice, I guess, and I teach the young doctors that, and I bet deep down you feel that too. As you remember how it felt when somebody showed you compassion at a time when you had a tough, unfixable problem. The third reason are the benefits to you, and research shows that volunteering is also good for you. There are health benefits for you. For example, studies have found that regular volunteers, including older ones, have lower rates of depression and reduced stress. And of course, volunteering also increases things like self-confidence, because it proves that you can do this sort of stuff, especially as you see it making a difference in people's lives. It helps give you agency and self-empowerment and a sense of purpose. And hey, there's a great little spin-off. You make really nice new friends. People who volunteer are usually pretty nice people. So you end up with a whole new set of wonderful new friends. And there are some other benefits too to volunteering, like personal growth in empathy and understanding. And I've actually written a book about this, suffering, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. Another reason to volunteer is that it creates opportunities for you. And once you start doing this sort of stuff, other opportunities usually arise. People ask me to talk about them in the sense of what's happened to me since I volunteered after the Indian Ocean Tsunami. So I have included a list of these. I've been able to help in other disasters. I think I've now made 8 trips to disaster areas. Myself and a very good friend of mine, Michael Henderson, actually mostly Michael, I've got to be honest, it was his brainchild, set up an organisation called ISTI, International Skills and Training Institute in Health. And it was Michael's vision that we could train people in the region to respond better and more quickly to disasters. And this organisation has actually won a prestigious award and it's figured in newspaper and magazine articles. From my work there, I've also written some professional journal articles on the subject, spoken at conferences, served on government boards with regard to Indonesia, lectured and become actually an honorary professor at the University of Indonesia. And about this recent book, it's called Behind the Tears, Understanding, Surviving and Growing from Suffering. And there's a link to this book in the description. But look, I don't want to intimidate you with that list of things that opportunities that have arisen from my time in Aceh after the tsunami, because that just matches my training and my professional responsibilities. And usually ongoing opportunities are obviously less dramatic and will inevitably be determined by your lifestyle and responsibilities, family, kids, etc. But maybe I could encourage you to ask yourself how much of those are genuine limitations and how much of them are perceived limitations, or maybe even excuses. The but excuses, but I'm busy, but I've got responsibilities, etc. What we call in the Fathering Project the but tray. Now, not everyone can do this. People have got businesses and parenting responsibilities, etc. But look, it can be something you do intermittently and regularly. Thus, it remains an important part of your life, even though it's not the whole of your life, and that's actually how I do it. I've got to say too that once you've experienced being useful, like in a disaster, even if it's not necessarily a tsunami, earthquake, could be floods, bushfires, cyclones, Hurricane Katrina, all that stuff. Just to pick a few examples, you become good at it. You become experienced at it. And you get asked next time, the next time, and the next time. That's how opportunities arise. You got to Get up, do it the first time, find what works for you, and then you'll find yourself intermittently able to help. The final advantage, if you like, of volunteering in situations like this and others is to role model authenticity and inspiration. I mean, what the heck do they mean? A lot of people don't think of this, they just think of helping those who suffer. But it is a powerful byproduct of volunteering. It's not just helpful for those in need, and it's not just helpful for those who go, but it's good for our kids, grandkids and students and others. Now, why is that so? Well, kids and grandkids are always watching us, as are our students. They watch not just what we say, but what we do. So you think about your own life. What do your kids, grandkids, maybe students see? My first question is this: do they see authenticity? Authenticity is about genuineness of what you believe and think. We all have values and beliefs, values that are important to us, such as respect and integrity and kindness. They may be political, such as conservative, liberal, Republican, etc., Democrat, progressive, liberal. They might be religious, such as atheism, Christianity, Islam, etc. And we have particular views about hot issues. As their kids grow up, they decide if any of these views are attractive to them or not. And importantly, they begin to observe whether our lives are consistent with our views, or are they just words. Our kids are watching us all the time, and they are only likely to consider our values and beliefs deeply if they see us live them. Not just talk about them, but to go out of our way to live them. I honestly think hate can be taught just by words, but love needs words and actions, and especially if that love has a sacrificial cost to us. And those actions must make an attractive difference so that the kids grow up wanting those values and those beliefs because of the difference they make, not the opposite. And there's an old saying that goes, kids don't care what we believe until they believe that we care. We care about them and we care about others. In our fathering project, we emphasize that a lot. In addition to authenticity, there's another aspect of this role modeling, which is inspiration. Inspiration is over and above authenticity and genuineness because it's rising above to do things that make the kids say, wow. You can inspire kids and students and others by your volunteering. Inspiration, if it happens, lasts a long time embedded in our hearts. And it benefits kids to be inspired because it reduces their sense of entitlement and builds up their sense of resilience and their self-confidence. Other people, besides you of course, can inspire young people. And my inspirational heroes, for example, include, amongst a number, Nelson Mandela, Marie Curie and Edmund Hillary. But kids and students are much closer to us, so we are in a much more powerful position to affect them for good or bad. They're closer to home, closer to their daily life, closer to their hearts. Indeed, you might be the inspiration that changes the lives of your children and grandchildren or students. And this actually happened to me when I was a medical student, and a mentor changed the way that I saw my life. And there's a story explaining that down below in the description. So just accept the fact and the challenge that you might make a big difference to the hearts of your children and grandchildren by volunteering passionately and compassionately. You might have heard that famous grandfather question where a billionaire grandfather is sitting on his chair and his young grandson says, grandfather, I heard at school about some inspiring person who's really made a difference in the world and helped people and shown love. And I just want to ask you, Grandpa, what have you done to help people? And all that money doesn't seem to matter much anymore. He wants to know what you've actually done. Not paid for to be done, but actually done. Now I have here a photocopy of a card I saw recently written by a 13-year-old to her grandfather, a genuine card, and this is what it says. Happy Father's Day, Grandpa. Thank you for loving me. You inspire me. I want to be just like you. I want to be just like you. And look, to be honest, these videos that I'm making about the tsunami are a bit of a labour of love. But at a minimum, they are for my grandkids and my great-grandkids and beyond that. So that even if no one ever is interested enough to watch these videos, it will be worth it. It'll be around for them, hopefully, to see that their grandfather tried to have a go to help people. Is it the same for you? Imagine your kids or grandkids being inspired watching a video of you working to help the poor and needy. Now, nobody I know, this is a very important point, actually does this sort of volunteering in order to inspire people or even to be seen to be doing it. It just does. I do need to add here that this mostly applies to kids who are around teenage years. It's unlikely to be inspiring or even highly appropriate to disappear off regularly as a volunteer if your partner and children are stressed by your absence at that time, except in exceptional circumstances. But to inspire, you have to tell the story. You have to tell the story. And most of the altruistic people I know are uncomfortable talking about their work. And I've struggled with this myself, not that I'm hugely altruistic. I just don't ever want to look heroic, largely because I'm not. Indeed, when I was heading up to Aceh as a volunteer after the tsunami, I actually planned not to tell anyone that I was there, nor when I came back was I going to tell anyone that I'd been there. I was a bit of a daft and, to be honest, a bit self-righteous. Anyway, that's what I thought at the time. But I soon realised that was a bad idea. You've got to talk about it for your own sake, your own mental well-being, but also to encourage others. So when I was asked after I returned home, I did agree to talk to people. Initially, my daughter's school, I was a bit nervous about that, whether I would embarrass her, but it was okay. And in fact, they told her in the playground afterwards that her dad was cool. So I realised I'd passed the test, and that eased my concerns. I also responded to an invitation to talk to the hospital staff and medical students about the work up in Aceh, in the disaster zone, and it really helped me. And again, to be honest, I was surprised at just how interested the staff were. They wanted to do similar things. I didn't realise just how much. It's no doubt that the medical students, for example, and the nurses and the young doctors, they all get inspired, and they would pack the room. I think they all love their current work, but they want their career to mean something a bit more than just the routine. They want to help those in desperate need. And disasters and bushfires and that sort of stuff provide such an opportunity from time to time. Now, my friends tell me that I worry too much about the judgmental people who see incorrect motives. So I'm going to tell you about one of them. Is what I call the Facebook moment. I was working up in central Sulawesi after the recent earthquake and tsunami there. And I was really struggling. I was utterly exhausted, getting 4.5 hours sleep a day, and I was worn out. I mean, the details don't matter. Emotionally and physically, I was worn out. So I had a bit of time off late on a Sunday afternoon. I picked up my phone, and I noticed the Facebook F. And I thought, oh look, that's about family and friends. I'm going to send a message because I could really use some encouragement. You know, a problem shared is a problem halved. So I wrote a little summary of what I'd done, included one picture. But as I was about to hit the F, my finger stopped. I tell you why, because I thought of that small percentage of people who would read it and think, Bruce is just big noting himself, bragging about what a hero he is to go and help people. So I didn't send it. And then I thought about it a bit more and I thought, well, I'm the guy that's struggling and it's only family and friends. So boom, I sent it anyway. And sure enough, within the next 2 or 3 hours, I got the most wonderful encouragement from friends and cousins. And I thought, that's a good idea. And then soon after I arrived home, I went to a board meeting. And I got there a bit early and talked to a friend of mine, Morena, gorgeous, lovely, soft-hearted lady in leadership. And she said to me, Bruce, thanks for that Facebook post, it really inspired me. So I told her the story about the finger hovering and she said, Bruce, don't ever allow that small proportion of people who will always misjudge you, don't ever allow that to determine what you do. They'll always be there. And if you let them control what you do, this is the phrase, you will deny the opportunity for inspiration. You will deny the opportunity for inspiration. So now whenever my finger hovers or whatever it is, I call them Morena moments, and I'm so grateful to her for that piece of wisdom. Don't let that small percentage of judgmental people determine what you do. Those judgments tell you more about what's going on in their hearts than in your heart, so don't let it control your decisions. So you've got to tell people, and that will allow for inspiration, whether it's your kids, your grandkids, your colleagues, workplace, students, whomever.